Hello, everyone. My name is Christian, and today we're going to be presenting to you my law. My law is a fairly new one, which is set to go um, into effect in 2025, so this year, and it is called the Take It Down Act. So let's begin. What is the Take It Down Act? So the Take It Down Act actually makes it illegal to knowingly publish non-consensual intimate images. That stands for NCII. So these are realistic images that were taken with a camera or whatever. And it also includes computer generated images. So right now, AI is very powerful. It's the most powerful it's ever been. And so people are able to create deep fakes and fake images of people with their faces on it and attach it to an AI generated naked body. And so basically what this act says, it says, no, you cannot do that. That's not okay. It's an invasion of privacy. That's an invasion of character. And that's not a good reputation of someone. So this law really responds to the growing problem of digital sexual abuse and deepfake technology. There's a lot of really sad examples of high schoolers being taken advantage of, underage people because they're told they're going to get money or they're told to send a photo that think they're talking to someone they're not talking to. And maybe they send an inappropriate photo to someone, and that person will then blackmail them and they will threaten to share that photo with all their friends. And there's been a lot of cases of this happening. And unfortunately, a lot of these kids end up taking their own lives because they're so fearful of having to either pay this person money, which they do usually, and they pay the money, and the person still threatens it. And they say, I don't want to live if someone is threatening to post my inappropriate photos so all my friends at school will see. So it's a really scary thing. And I have a question for you guys. Have you ever heard of deepfake technology, and how do you guys think it impacts people's lives? Have you guys had different experiences? Let's move on. So, what is the purpose of this act? So, the main purpose is to protect individuals from having intimate images shared without their consent. And this is whether it's real or AI generated. And I think this is most relevant towards our youth. I think with the creation of AI and the ever so popularity of social media, I think it's really important that we protect our youth and we make sure that they are getting the absolute best safety and we're not letting people take advantage of them. And then also people that are our age in college or teachers' age or elders' age, it's not acceptable to just take photos of people and deep fake AI them and send them to others because it looks real. I know there's AI videos where I'll think it's a real video. It turns out to be fully fake. So this act will really prevent any of those really intimate images being shared around. And I think that it also targets just traditional revenge porn and just new threats from the AI generated content that's happening. And I'd like to end this slide with another question, which is why do you think it's important to include computer generated images in this law? Do you guys think it's just important that we stop real images, or do you guys also think it's important that we stop computer images, and why? I just kind of told you what I think about that, and so I'd love to know your guys' opinion. Let's keep going. So let's talk about the pros of the act. So first, the law provides crucial protection for victims, helping them regain control of their privacy. And I think this is really the most important part of the act because there's a lot of victims out there and people out there who get really scared. They get really fearful about how they are being treated and being seen in public view. And a lot of lives have been ruined through this. And it closes legal loopholes that previously allowed AI generated deepfakes to circulate without consequence. There's a lot of influencers or celebrities, especially women that are being targeted, and the people will be making deep fakes of them with their face, and they'll look extremely realistic, and they will use them against their will, and it's very very wrong. It's an internet version of non-consensual things going on, and so it needs to be stopped immediately for them and for everyone else. This can happen to children. If you have photos of children, it's a very scary thing. And so by holding platforms accountable like Instagram, X, um, formerly it was Twitter, Snapchat, and all that type of stuff, it really encourages tech companies to develop better detection and removal tools in their software. And tech companies don't want to spend the money to do that right now because why would they? There's not a law going around. They just say they don't condone it. They condone it and they don't accept it. But at the end of the day, they're not really doing anything to help it. And so Do you guys think social media companies are doing enough right now? I personally don't. I think the harm is really going around. It's at an all-time high. I've heard a lot of stories. I've had a person in my community who take their life because of this, and I think it hits very close to home for a lot of people. So let's talk about the cons of this act. So some critics argue that the law could threaten free speech or be misused to censor legitimate content. And I think that that is a possibility. At the end of the day, we do live in the United States, and whether we agree of speech or don't agree of speech, free speech basically means as long as we're not, immediately threatening someone, saying we're going to kill them or something like that, then that's called free speech. And so some people argue this is an invasion of that. There are concerns about how platforms will be able to identify and remove only illegal content without over censoring. There's a lot of content out there, I think we can all agree. And so it's going to be difficult to see the real stuff from the fake content and kind of be able to tell. And there's also, situations where people can take advantage of it and say, oh, I didn't allow this and sue people, but maybe they did allow it beforehand. So there's a lot of legalities that go into that. And then, that kind of creates worry that there could be false accusations of the law to, be weaponized against people. And so I think that's kind of a challenge that I see with this law. And I'd like to ask you if you see any more challenges happening with this law and how this could be potentially weaponized. So let's talk about the key stakeholders of the app. So the victims of the NCII are the main people who this act will be benefiting. And the NCII, as we talked about, are people who are being targeted with these deep fake images and even real images. And also tech companies and social media companies are another form of the really important people in which this will interact with and adjust, because tech companies are the ones who are going to have to enforce it. So it's a new standard. Just like tech companies have laws for privacy and such, this will be added to those privacy laws. So it's a whole reform tech companies will have to go through. Law enforcement and courts will also have to play a role, and they will also have to start enforcing this. So there'll be new court hearings. There will be new law enforcement, maybe sections or people who will have to learn about this. So it's a whole new thing, but I think that's really important because the internet is all ever evolving, and there's going to be more and more technological advances. And unfortunately, when we have technological advances, they're used for bad things and good things. So it's important to stay up to date with that. All right, let's get to the conclusion. So the Take It Down Act, like we said, it stops this of a harm, and it stops people from taking advantage of kids and elders and well-known people in public. And I think in my opinion, I think it's extremely important that we vote yes to this law. I think it's one of the most positive things of 2025 so far that I've seen. And while there are cons in the sense that it can take free speech, I think up to a point, certain things should not be allowed, in my opinion. That is just my opinion, and I think this is one of them. I think that there is no reason, photos of underage kids should be on the internet, or even young teenagers in their 20s or 30s, any age. It should never be allowed, and it can really ruin people's images and, self viability, and that can cause them to, at the worst case scenario, take their lives, and if not that, have serious depression and mental health issues from it. So these are my references. I used 4 references, and I kind of used some .gov references. I used a variety of different things. So I appreciate you guys listening to my presentation, and I look forward to any other thoughts or questions you guys have. And I want to end just asking you guys what you think about this act, if you would vote yes in this act if you were in Congress, and why or why not you would vote.